patience as technology gently kicks our behinds. Sing with us now to welcome Shabbat morning services here today. We're so happy to see you in every way. Ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la la ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la ya la 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 la, ya la la ya la la la. Your dwelling places, O Israel. Ma tovu olecha Yaakov, olecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Israel. Ma tovu olecha Yaakov, olecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Israel.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody, and welcome to our Shabbat morning service. We're coming to you from our beautiful sanctuary. Our building is close to the public. As we begin the conversation on how to best reopen with our congregants and staff's health as our top priority, we look forward to continuing to connect over the screens. As always, links to our Siddur can be found in the Facebook event for this service. In addition to the digital flip book, we have a prayer book packet for this morning. You may find the link to the PDF in the comments for this service. Important information will also appear in the comments during the service, and for that we thank Dave Zucker and Aviva Simons who are managing our streaming this morning. Please say hi by typing Shabbat Shalom on the comments line, and don't forget to hit return. Just a reminder about the page numbers. If you have two sets, we are calling the numbers in square brackets. So go ahead, find Shabbat morning service, Roman numeral number 2 in your Mishkan Tefillah, or go to the first page of your prayer packet. The page numbers are at the bottom corners of the image. If you are following the service on the PDF file, we will be using all the pages. Finally, please remember to keep your comments during the streaming to Shabbat-worthy topics. We suggest that you take notes and send us an email later this week with your comments and suggestions, and we thank you in advance for that. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. As we begin our Shabbat morning together, we turn to page 288 for Modeh Ani.
Modeh Ani lefanecha, melech chai v'kayan, שהחזרת בי נשמתי בחמלה, בחמלה.
Our service continues on page 291, as we join together. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe. With divine wisdom you have made our bodies, combining veins, arteries, and vital organs into a fine and balanced network. Wondrous maker and sustainer of life, were one of them to fail, how well we are aware we would lack the strength to sustain life before you. Blessed are you, Adonai, source of our health and strength. Baruch atah Adonai, rofeh chol basar umafli la'asot.
Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorahi. Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorahi. Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorahi, tehorahi. Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorahi. Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorahi.
On page 293, we join together as we offer blessings for our daily miracles. 293.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan לשכל ובינה להבחין בין יום ובין לילה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, פוקח עבריים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, מתיר אסורים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, זוקף כפופים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, רוקע הארץ על המים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, המכין מצעדי גבר. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, מלביש ערומים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, הנותן ליהב כוח. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, המעביר שינה מעיני ותמונה מאף אפי. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, שעשני בצלם אלוהים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, שעשני בן חורין. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, שעשני ישראל. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, עוזר ישראל בגבורה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, עוטר ישראל בתפארה.
On page 302, in the middle of the page, we will join together singing words from Psalm 92, a psalm, a song for Shabbat, beginning with the words Tzadik Katamar.
Tzadik katamar yifrach, ke'erez balvanon, balvanon yizke, shetulim bebeit Adonai, bechatzot Eloheinu yafrichu, od yanuvun beseva, deshenim verananim, lehagid ki yashar Adonai, tzuri ve'lo
On page 306, we will continue with Psalm 150. And today we have slightly different melody. We have been learning this melody together at our
Wednesday
weekly
song
sessions with Leslie. So we're bringing it now into our service. As we prepare for the recitation of the Shema and the Ve'ahavta, we turn to page 317. So we together recite the blessing before the Shema, page 317. O God, inspiration and guide for all, you have spoken in 1,000 tongues for us to hear. In every land and every age, your children have heard you and imagined you in separate ways. And yet, O God, you are one, unifier of humanity. We give thanks for the sages and teachers who bring us understanding of your will. Gratefully, we recall the lawgivers and prophets, the psalmists and sages of Israel, and joyfully we remember that from the dawn of Israel's life, we will turn to you and find purpose. May the teachings of our ancestors live on in our minds, and their passion for righteousness stir our hearts. Help us to live so that our daily conduct reveals the beauty and wisdom of your truth.
Baruch atah Adonai, abocher be'amo Yisrael be'ahava. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך. שמך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בעם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להוד על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Emet. Service continues on page 322, as we join in singing the words of Mi Hamocha, 322. Adonai, mi kamocha, nedar bakodesh, nora teilot, osef elef,
שירה
חדשה, שיפו גאולים, לשמך שפת הים, יחד כולם הודו, והמליכו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות, אוסף אלף, אוסף אלף, אוסף אלף. We now come to a moment in our service when we take a few moments of private, silent prayer. We invite you to use the words on the Siddur, beginning on page 322 through page 337, and to also take this time to offer a private prayer, a meditation from wherever you are, at home, maybe walking outside. It's a beautiful day, doing laundry. Well, no, we want you to concentrate a little bit. But walking, taking a walk would be a nice thing.
I think sitting in a park
Having
a park Shabbat would be lovely.
We may do something like that sooner than later, we'll see. But until then, page 322, Tzur Israel.
Tzur Israel, kuma be'ezrat Israel, ufedechinu mecha, Yehuda ve'Yisrael, Go'aleinu Adonai tzvaot shemo, Kedosh Yisrael, Baruch ata Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. Adonai sefatai tiftach, ufi agi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. יהיו לרצון אמרי פי והגיון ליבי לפניך יהיו לרצון אמרי פי והגיון ליבי לפניך אדוני צורי אדוני צורי אדוני צורי וגואלי אדוני צורי אדוני צורי אדוני צורי וגואלי יהיו לרצון אמרי פי והגיון ליבי לפניך יהיו לרצון אמרי פי והגיון ליבי לפניך אדוני צורי אדוני צורי אדוני צורי וגואלי אדוני צורי אדוני צורי אדוני צורי וגואלי.
Our service will continue now as we begin our service for the reading of the Torah. It is found on page 367. Well, that's where we begin with Al Shlosha Dvarim. If you are at home or wherever you are, if you want to do your private hakafa, you're welcome to do so as we join together in singing Al Shlosha Dvarim.
על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים העולם עומד, על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים העולם עומד, על התורה ועל העבודה ועל גמילות חסדים, על התורה ועל העבודה ועל גמילות חסדים, על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים העולם עומד.
So this week we are having the Torah portion that is fairly well known. I think we mentioned last night that there are two episodes in the narrative of the Torah that are relatively critical for what happens to the Jews in the desert. Obviously the Exodus and the Mount Sinai experience, but I think what we mean by critical is critical from the point of view of their own doing. And the first one is the very famous story of the golden calf. And the second one is the story found in this week's Torah portion, Parashat Shlach Lecha, which means send, and is the story of the scouts. In Hebrew, it's called Parashat HaMeraglim, the ones who go explore the land of Israel. And this is crucial because this is how it explains the Torah, the reason behind spending 40 years in the desert to reach the promised land, which it would not have taken 40 years, even if they walked very slowly. So it really is that, Golda Meir famously said, you took us 40 years in the desert to bring us to the only place in the Middle East that doesn't have oil. She famously said that apparently at one point. Now, apparently now there are gas deposits off the shore of Israel. So, but she did not know that when she said that. But there's no oil under the land of Israel. So, and the Torah portion fits into the book of Numbers in another way. Obviously, this is an important episode, but the book of Numbers is called, in Hebrew, Bemidbar, in the wilderness, but in English, obviously, it's called Numbers. And one of the reasons why it's called Numbers is because it has a lot of numbers, mostly censuses, in particular, lists of names of people. And this week's Torah portion is no exception. It lists the names of every single individual who went on this journey into the land of Israel, which, by the way, took 40 days. So you can start seeing, if you haven't by now, the certain numbers in the Torah also are meaningful. So it's 40 years, not 39 years or 41 years, but 40. They went to the land of Israel and they spent 40 days, not 37 or 42, but 40 days. And Moses spent 40 days on Mount Sinai. Again, not 37, 38, or 41, but 40.
Did it rain for 40 days too? Like all the way through?
Thank you. So
I got you.
So this is to say, I'm skeptical about all kinds of things, but in particular about this episode on many levels. So we're going to step into the text with a little bit of a skepticism, but a healthy dose of skepticism, mostly looking for, I don't know if hidden meanings. They seem to be pretty obvious to me, but they are there. They're not what you will think out the first time. So the first piece is the names. So each one of these individuals is specifically named, which normally they're not. In other words, you don't get a lot of names, but you do get, in this case, a list of all the leaders of the various tribes. So you have Lemater Ruven, Shemua ben Zakur, and so on and so forth. Some of them are names that are common in, relatively common in the Jewish world. So in verse number 7, we get a guy named Igal, and there's a famous Israeli archaeologist in general, Igal Alon. And then you have Palti, and I knew a Palti. Gadiel, which is the name of that very famous rabbi that lived in the Galilee, and we talked about that when we did the song about the kid studying Torah by the Sea of the Galilee. Mm-hmm. His name was Gadiel. And so you have Gadi, and there are others who we've never heard since or before, before or since. But if you know the narrative, and if you know what happens afterwards, and if you don't, I'm going to tell you, there are two names that are really important in this story. And they are, of course, Joshua and Caleb. And Joshua's name, we'll leave it for in a minute. We're going to go to Caleb first. So Caleb in Hebrew, Caleb, it's just a name. And it exists in English too. A lot of people call it Caleb. Now, the Hebrew cognate for the word Caleb is the Hebrew word for dog, Kelev.
Huh.
It's probably part of a longer name, which meaning something like Kelev, the obedient servant of God, so and so. And we know that the term Kelev in its many forms in the Near East, ancient Near East, was a metaphor for obsequious servant, obsequious servant, found often in other parts of the Near Eastern literature. So, and Joshua and Caleb are the only two individuals who disagree with the rest of the group, right? So because everybody says there's no way we can conquer the land, I'm just moving forward into the story, but Caleb and Joshua say, we will not agree with them. I think we can do this. And the second name, and this is the most interesting piece to me, is that the guy who will become the leader of the Jewish people after Moses not only is mentioned here, but what sometimes people don't remember, and I myself don't remember until I read it every year, is that in the same case as Abraham has his name changed from Avram to Abraham, and Jacob becomes Israel, in verse 7, he is listed as Lemate Ephraim Hoshea bin Nun.
Hoshea.
So his name is Hoshea.
Huh.
Now, nobody calls him that, right? We call him Joshua, all right? The same way that we never usually speak about Avram, we talk about Abraham, not Abram, but the word is there. So he becomes known as so. And in verse 16, there's a recapitulation of the names. It says, Ele Shemot HaAnashim, these are the names of the men whom Moses sent out to the land. But Moses changed the name of Hoshea to Yehoshua. V'ikra Moshe leHoshea bin Nun Yehoshua. And as typical of the Torah, no explanation.
Oh, come on. I was waiting for it.
No explanation. But thank God there is Rashi and other commentators. And Rashi, so the idea here again, if you understand, Hoshea means someone like the savior, someone who will save.
Okay.
Right? But Yehoshua means God will save. So by adding the letter Yod to the beginning, which stands for the name of God, Moses introduces God in the name of Yehoshua. And Rashi says, this means, may God save you from the malign influence of the other scouts.
Oh.
Right. So as if no. Moses knew what was going to happen. Everybody was going to go and complain about the land of Israel. And Moses, I would argue, knew because they had been complaining all along. And there's nothing new about this. And so Moses says, I'm not going to call you Hoshea, I'm going to call you Yehoshua, saying to him something like, I hope God helps you because this is going to be bad. And, and I hope that you, Yehoshua of all people, don't fall for what the majority is trying to convince you to do. And this whole idea of changing the names to adapt to a new situation, or more specifically, changing the name to help on the outcome of the situation, reminded me specifically this week about the power of names in general, and more specifically about the power of names of African Americans, in particular women, and in particular women who had been enslaved, and then when they became freed slaves, they actually changed, freed people, not slaves, no longer enslaved, they changed their names. And there are lots of parallels, of course, because the people we're talking about in the Torah portion, were also enslaved in Egypt.
Right.
I mean, Joshua and Caleb and everybody else were all enslaved in Egypt. And it took, they went out of Egypt, and it took them a long time to regain not only their freedom, but also regain a sense that they have worth and they are actually can express that in their names. The case that I was reading about, and for those of you who subscribe to the New York Times, and this might be available for everybody, the New York Times had something yesterday called something like, "This is how we Juneteenth," something like that.
I saw that.
And there were many articles about this, and one of them was about names of African American women. This one in particular was someone who called herself Sojourner Truth, and by doing that, she declared both her freedom and her purpose in life. And she was really a sojourner. She looked around for meaning after 1828, 27, when she was freed. And then she went on to become a very important leader of the anti-slavery movement in our country, and a women's activist. Early on, I mean, we're talking about
Wow.
Many, many years before women, almost 100 years before women gained the right to vote. But this actually made me think about maybe a positive twist, if there is one, on the life of the Israelites and of the newly freed slaves 150 years or plus ago. I think we often, and with maybe cause, think that the 40 years that the Jews had to spend in the desert were a punishment for them. Right. But it could also have been a time for them and for the people around them to get used to this new situation. And I think that the experience of liberated slaves, and I don't know anything about the history, but I know about the Torah, is that it was not easy for them to go from Egypt to be free people in the desert. And that that difficulty also was expressed in their doubts about what the future may bring. So in the change of the name of Yehoshua, it's almost as if Moses is saying, we will need God's help to go through all this. And sometimes, and I know that African Americans are people who have a lot of faith, and they're very religious and very believing in the power of God. And I think that, I don't know, but they might have also seen that in our story today, in which, they saw how the Israelites struggle as they went out, and how they changed their names and they tried to really, go through, but it was still difficult. And it was not until the next generation that things improved.
Right.
Unfortunately, in the case of the African American story, and this is American history, I read a book a couple years ago called Slavery by Another Name. And unfortunately, that's what actually happened.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that they, if left alone, like the Israelites would have perhaps gone into the promised land, but there were other forces at work there, and they were re-enslaved in a different way. So the Torah, although it's I think more of a hopeful narrative than an actual historical event, going back to the reason why we looked at the names as very meaningful, but a little too meaningful. So I think that the text of the Torah is aspirational, and it's for us all that maybe it would take another 40 years or longer to actually get to what we will consider the promised land here. And it will go on 160 years. So it's
time.
a long way.
It is time.
So I wonder if we are ready for our Torah reading. And I want to make sure that everybody looks at the links for the readings for the Torah for this morning that could be found in the comments and in e-news. And it's great pleasure. We're going to try something different today. We're going to welcome in just a minute a special Torah reader who is going to be joining us remotely. We will first recite the blessings on page 369, and then our Torah reader, Henry Gettel, will join us and read from the beginning of Parashat Shlach Lecha, chapter 13 of the book of Numbers, verse 1 through 16, which is mostly names. And let's together join in the blessing. Holy One of blessing, your presence fills creation. You have enlightened this path with the wisdom of Torah, giving it to the Jewish people as their particular way. Blessed are you, merciful one, who gives this Torah to the Jewish people. We're ready for Henry, if she's there.
Can you hear me now? Ay, ay, ay. Baruch et Adonai Hamvorach. Baruch Adonai Hamvorach leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam.
There's Henry. Oh, we just saw her.
Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Vaydaber Adonai el Moshe lemor. Shlach lecha anashim vayitru et eretz Canaan asher ani noten libnei Yisrael. Ish echad lemate avotav. Tishlachu kol nasiv vahem. Vayishlach otam Moshe Mimbidbar Paran, al pi Adonai, kulam anashim roshe v'nei Yisrael hema. Ve'ele shmotam lemate, Ruvain, Shemua ben Zakor, lemate Shimon, Shaphat ben Hori, lemate Yehuda, Kalev ben Yefuneh, lemate Yisaskar, Yigael ben Yosef, lemate Ephraim, Hoshea ben Nun, lemate Binyamin, Palti ben Rafu, lemate Zevulun, Gadiel ben Sodi, lemate Yosef, lemate Menashe, Gadi ben Susi, limaten Dan, Amiel ben Gemali, limate Asher, Setur ben Michael, limaten Naphtali, Nachbi ben Bafsi, limaten Gad, Geuel ben Machi. Ele shemot ha'anashim asher shalach Moshe lator et haaretz. Vayikra Moshe leHoshea ben Nun Yehoshua. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nota betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
may access the Mishe Berach list through the e-news that you received yesterday. You can follow also the link in the comments. And if you like to offer names now, please type them in the comments as so that we can all see them. Go ahead and type them now.
The ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen.
As we think of those in need of healing, we also turn our thoughts and our prayers to those who help in healing, first responders and health workers all over the world. May the one who blessed and led our forebearers give countenance unto those who provide help for the ill and troubled among us. May they be filled with fortitude and courage, endowed with sympathy and compassion, as they give strength to those at their side. May they fight against despair and continue to find within themselves the will to reach out to those in need. And in the love of others, may they feel the blessing of community and the blessing of renewed faith. On page 374, we conclude our service for the reading of the Torah. So we join our voices in singing Etz Chaim.
Etz Chaim hi lamachazik ima v'tomchei
We continue now on page 592 as we share a moment of remembrance. When I die, give what's left of me away to children and all men that wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known or loved. And if you cannot give me away, at least let me live in your eyes and not in your mind. You can love me best by letting hands touch hands, by letting bodies touch bodies, and by letting go of children that need to be free. Love doesn't die, people do. So when all that is left of me is love, give me away. We continue to honor the memory of George Floyd among our own loved ones. Today we are observing the Shloshim period for the death of Beth Torah member Nancy Jonas Wilson and the following yortzeits of members of our congregation: Harold Baer, Art Bratt, Jacob Deutsch, Sarah Dubin, Martin Gallen, Ethel Stein Gold, Celia Greenwald, Ricky Englander Cossett, Julius Levin, Carl Lowenstein, Florence Mishkin, Harry Paslowski, Dorothy Rosenthal, Sherwin Rosenthal, Howard Rudolph, Harry Steinzig, Joel Winston. Zichronam livracha, may the memories be for a blessing. And if you're joining us and you have a loved one that you are remembering on this Shabbat and we did not include his or her name in our list this morning, please add their names to the comments as we together as a congregation across the virtual universe recite Kaddish Yatom on page 598. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברה חירותה וימליך מלכותה, בחייכון ובימיכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב אמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודש בריחו, לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תוש בחטא ונחמתה, דא אמירם בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום ממרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. We have some announcements before we depart.
Announcements.
First, we would like to thank everyone who has joined us from our area and from around the world. Special thanks to Leslie for her lovely music and to Henry Gettle for reading Torah for us this morning. And final thanks to Dave Zucker and Aviva Simons for helping our congregation have this virtual presence. Just a reminder that our building is closed and that our entire staff can be reached via email or Facebook Messenger. We are here for you. Our next Facebook Live Shabbat service will be Friday, June the 26th at 6:30 p.m. If you would like to join us for our Torah study, our Sichat Shabbat, that will take place next Saturday at 9 a.m. on Zoom. Please leave your email in the comments if you'd like to be added to that distribution list. A couple of reminders. Number one, the Kansas City area still has an urgent need for blood donors. Donating blood is a sure way of helping save lives. Visit our Facebook page for more information. And also, we are looking for congregants to prepare or order and deliver meals to older members of our sister congregation, Calvary Temple Baptist Church in KCMO, who are homebound due to the pandemic. Please email connect@beth-torah.org, and you can find that on the comments as well, if you're interested in preparing, ordering, or delivering these meals to support our neighbors. A couple things, Leslie, maybe this week?
Absolutely. Coming up Wednesday is our next song session. Wednesday, 7 o'clock, Facebook Live. Also, next weekend is our Pride Shabbat, which is closing out Pride Month. And we look forward to celebrating with you all. For those of you who have already sent in your photographs for our Love is Love slideshow, thank you. I look forward to receiving many more this week. And those come to me, lzucker@beth.torah.org. shabbat-torah.org. And then Saturday at 8 o'clock, we will be doing a Havdalah to close out Pride Month. So we hope to see you all there. It's on Zoom. The link will be in your e-news. So watch your e-news. If you do not get the e-news and would like to, email us, and we will make sure that that happens. Oh, and Michelle and I are doing another concert, July 6th, Monday night. We will be streaming it on the Beth Torah and B'nai Yehuda Facebook pages.
Wonderful. Thank you, everybody. Please make sure to check us out on Facebook, like our page, follow our page, and you can leave us comments about the service and other virtual offerings. Have a Shabbat Shalom and stay healthy, everybody. We will conclude today. On page 328 with Veshambru, we used to have, after our Shabbat morning service, a lovely Kiddush and Amotzi in the Ulam. It will come back one of these days, and we always sang Veshambru, so in honor of those good days,
That's right.
when we were all grab the challah, all our hands together, oh my. Who knew that we were going to miss that one of these days?
Right? Yeah. I miss just putting my hand on someone's shoulder. But we will again.
Until then, let's think positive thoughts and join us in singing Veshambru.
Veshambru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom.
We'll see you.
Be safe, be kind, and take care of each other.